It's mid-August, so in Texas, that means it's back to school. I know, you may all cry, or you may rejoice if you are a parent. I am neither a student nor a parent, but I was a teacher just a couple months ago. So I feel like I have a pretty good input on how to be a successful student from a teacher's perspective and as a student's perspective. I graduated college 3 years ago? Yes, 3.5 years ago, which in college terms is a lifetime, but in reality, I've still got some relevance on this. So I wanted to give my advice, my suggestions, my tips on how to be a successful student. So, my number one tip, forever and always, this is for students of all ages, teachers, everybody, have a planner. You need to have a planner. I don't care if it's your phone, I don't care if it's a bullet journal, I don't care if it's a ring-bound planner, I don't care if it's an Erin Condren life planner, I don't care. You need to be able to input the things in your brain that you need to keep track of into something else so that your brain can function. I would not know what to do with my life if I didn't have a planner. I have 3 planners at any given time. I have kind of a bullet journal brain dump. I have a ring-bound planner, which, let me know if you guys want to see a plan with me, because this is how I plan. I might just film a plan with me anyway, because I love it and it makes me happy. But yeah, so I have a bullet journal to write down like to-do lists and tasks and things to remember and just kind of notes, anything that's in my brain that I need to get on paper so that I don't have to think about it, because I'm a worrier. I am the definition of anxiety, and I need to have everything coming out of my brain or else it's just gonna fester. So if you're anything like that, I would recommend keeping a separate journal from your planner. You can have a journal and then just use your phone to keep track of like due dates and tasks and whatever, but you need to have some sort of organization, some sort of time management things, for lack of a better word. I promise I'm college educated. You need to be able to keep track of when you're supposed to be doing what. So have a to-do list every day of things you need to accomplish. Have a calendar of due dates of when things need to be done, when things are happening, so that you don't double book yourself, social engagements, work engagements, school, whatever. You need to be able to have everything down. Even better if it's color-coded, in my opinion. But you may not be a nerd like me. It could be as simple as having a receipt in your pocket when you're in class and professor says, hey, you have a test on Friday. You write it down on that receipt, you go to your next class, next professor says, hey, you need to have this reading done by this time. You write it down on your receipt. At the end of the day, you have a list of due dates and you put it onto a calendar. And then you just check that calendar periodically. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can put it in your phone, you can put it in Google Calendar, have it go cross-platform, whatever you need. But please, for the love of God, have a planner. I taught middle school, and the amount of students who had a Chromebook, a phone, a paper planner, and didn't use any of them, and then were surprised when things were due. Excuse me, what? I've been telling you that it's due for several months. It's time. You don't have an excuse. So don't be that person. Know when things are due. Know when you need to get things done. If you know that you have 3 tests in 1 week, because sorry, that's how life goes. You're gonna have multiple assignments due on a day, in a week, whatever. You need to know how you're going to accomplish all of those tasks at once. That's true of real life as well. And real life meaning post-education life. You're gonna have assignments due for work all at the same time. As a teacher, I knew that I had grades due the same time that I had a production due, the same time I had 3 meetings and whatever else is going on in my life. it all comes at you at once, and you need to plan ahead for that so that you know, hey, I have this due on this day, this due right after. How am I going to get all of that done within this time frame? And schedule your time accordingly. Know that put in your work schedule so that you know when you're going to study. All of those sort of things. I should also mention that a lot of my tips today do kind of pertain to college, some high school, some middle school. I think these tips are good for all ages and all life stages, because you need to start building habits as soon as you can. You don't want to be 50 and just learn how to use a planner. You're gonna have a rough young adulthood. Okay, tip number 2, have a night routine. A good day starts the night before. So when you come home from school or work or whatever, and you come home for the night, you need to go through your to-do lists, go through your calendar, know what the next day is going to look like, and then plan for that accordingly. Maybe that looks like packing your lunch or packing your school books. I went to a high school that had an A-day, B-day schedule. So on A-day I had these 4 classes, on B-day I had these 4 classes, and I would have to keep track of what classes were on the next day and what supplies I needed to bring for those classes. So I think that would be helpful to plan the night before so that you don't have to think about like, oh my god, what was yesterday, what's today gonna be. Just have it all planned out. Even better if that's on your calendar and you know, oh, this day I have these classes. If you, going back to Google Calendar, put your classes and your work schedule in your calendar just so that you don't have to think about it. There were plenty of days that I woke up thinking it was Wednesday, went to my Tuesday class, and then was very sad. So plan accordingly. Pick out your clothes, pick out your gym clothes, pick out your breakfast, make a to-do list for the next day so that you can wake up and already know what needs to be accomplished and have a game plan of how you're going to accomplish it. Along with that, you want to check over your to-do list the night before just to make sure that you have done everything that you needed to do. There's nothing worse than waking up and then realizing that last night you were supposed to do XYZ. You were supposed to read this chapter or start this essay, whatever, and then having to do it in the morning. I was not the type of person that could do homework in the morning. If that's you, congratulations. I don't want that kind of time constraint. That's like ultimate procrastination to me, and I'm not into it. Tacking on to that, have a Gyst routine. I will link my Gyst video down below. Gyst, G-Y-S-T, stands for Get Your Together. And that is where you spend one day, whenever you need it. It could be once a week, it could be once a month, whatever, where you just get those things done that have slipped through the cracks. So for me, I kind of had a mini Gyst day today, so I had to go turn in defensive driving stuff to a courthouse in a nearby town, get that done. I had to take stuff to Goodwill, schedule a hair appointment, whatever. Like, your little things that don't have a designated due date, but you know that they need to get done, that needs to go on a Gyst day. Because on a daily basis, when you're busy and running around, because we are all busy, I'm recognizing that your life is hectic. I am telling you that yes, it is, and yes, you can handle this. Those things are gonna slip through the cracks, whatever it may be, and you just need to get it done. Maybe it's as simple as like activating your new debit card, because that took me a month. It's just not an important thing. It's not worth stopping what I'm doing, but eventually it's gotta get done. So have a Gyst day and just get that stuff done. Along with that, keep a list of those sort of things in your notebook or in your calendar so that you don't have to think about it. That way when you get to a Gyst day, you can just go, oh, here it is, boom, 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 boom. I have one of those going right now. It includes changing my name. Because I've been married for 2 months now, and I've not changed my name. That's got to get done at some point, and that's probably going to take a while. So plan for that kind of stuff. Tip number 4 is the Pomodoro method. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. You can look all this up. I didn't make this up. I don't quite understand the significance of the tomato, but basically you have a timer. Typically they're shaped like a tomato for some arbitrary reason, but you set that timer for 20 minutes, and during that 20 minutes you are doing deep focus work. So you're not checking anything else, you are working on one task, and you are working on that task 110%. You are not doing anything else. You're not checking your watch, you're not checking the time, you're not checking your phone, you're not doing anything else. You are solely working on that task. After that 20 minutes, you take a break. 5, I think 7 is a good number for the task or for the break. And during that break, you leave where you are. So if you're studying at a desk, during that break, you leave your desk, you go to the bathroom, you go get a drink, you go get a snack, you go check your phone. I wouldn't recommend checking your phone because that leads to the rabbit holes, but you go do something, go talk to somebody, whatever. And then during that 7 minutes, you have a timer as well. After the 7 minutes, you go back and you start a different task. So you're working on tasks for 20 minutes at a time. I wouldn't recommend, I don't know what the method says, but I prefer to work for 20 minutes on an essay and then take your break, and then work for 20 minutes on your math problems and then take a break, and then 20 minutes on your history and then take a break and whatever. But I prefer to do that rather than working on essay, break, because your brain can only focus on something for so long at a time. And so you need to switch it up to keep it fresh and to keep your brain engaged. However, after you do 4 cycles of the Pomodoro, you take a long break. I believe you're supposed to take a 30-minute break. That's a great time to go get a meal, call someone, watch a show, whatever, something that you can totally tune out. After that, you go back working on whatever you'd like. For me, there were times when I was on a roll, like especially with essays, for some reason, I just need to get them done at a time and then take a break and go back and edit. But I would have to write for 20 minutes, take a break, and then sometimes I would have to go back to that same task just because it was on my mind and I had an idea and I needed to go. So do that, but generally you want to try and switch it up. You could also try, because you know how tasks have different levels to them. So for writing an essay, you might brainstorm for 20 minutes, take a break, and then just free write for 20 minutes and then take a break, and then edit for 20 minutes and then take a break, and then go back to writing for 20 minutes and take a break. If you want to stay on one task, work on different steps at a time. But the idea is that you're not letting your brain burn out on one task. We all have short attention spans, and unfortunately, the more involved with technology that we are, the harder it is for us to focus for a long time, especially doing deep focus. I would also recommend scheduling your most challenging tasks for earlier in the day so that you can just knock it out. Otherwise, you'll just keep procrastinating and procrastinating and procrastinating. If you are a creative type person, if you're an artist in any way, you might want to try working on your most creative task first. So if you're an artist, let's say you are a writer, you need to wake up, do your morning routine, and then jump right into writing. Like whatever is most creative for you, jump right into it for however long you need. If you need to do Pomodoro method, if you need to set a timer for an hour and you just deep focus for an hour, whatever your brain needs. But you need to evaluate at what point you start to lose focus. And initially, you're going to start to lose focus pretty early if you're not used to that deep focus. But the more you do it, it's like a muscle, it'll get easier to focus. Pomodoro is good for that because 20 minutes isn't that long. You can focus for 20 minutes. That's less than a TV show. That's probably less than this video will be. So just don't let yourself burn out. This is also really good if you do struggle with attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, because you're just focusing on one thing at a time. You're removing all other distractions. Again, everybody's different with learning disabilities, so try what works for you. If you try it and it doesn't work, maybe either see what's not working with it or try something similar. Number 5, please, 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 please go to tutorials and office hours. If you are in middle school or high school, tutorials. I was of the impression that if somebody came to tutorials and they showed that they were trying, I was never going to let them fail. Never. Because I see that you're trying. I see that you are putting in the effort. I see what your capabilities are. Rather than somebody who just doesn't go to tutorials, doesn't really do anything, doesn't really participate in class. You're not showing me that you care. In college, your professors are required to have office hours. Go. Even just to say, hey professor, I'm Emily, I'm in your Tuesday afternoon class, just wanted to say hey, like that lecture, whatever. I mean, don't kiss ass, but go and say hey and put your face in their face so that they know you, so they recognize you. College professors are going to be a great recommendation, especially when you are fresh out of college and you're trying to get a job. So make sure that your professors know you so that they can give you a recommendation. If you're struggling with something, maybe you missed a class, God forbid. Bonus tip: if you miss a class, please don't go into your office hours and say, hey professor, did I miss anything important? No, we all just sat there and wondered where you were. Yes, you missed something. You weren't here. Every day is important. That was the worst. If you know you're gonna be absent, tell your professor ahead of time. Tell a classmate so they can make a copy of the notes for you, whatever. Plan ahead. But if you're just sick, things happen. You can always email your professor, be like, hey, I'm not gonna make it. Is there any way you could email me the notes? Or I'd like to schedule office hours with you to go over what I missed, whatever. Just don't phrase it like, did I miss anything? Yes, you missed something. It's your responsibility to make it up. But just go meet your teachers, have a relationship with them. Teachers are teachers because we care. That's not always true of college professors, but generally it's because we care. We want you to be successful. We want you to do better than we have, even if we've done great. I want to impart all of my knowledge to you so that you can go and change the world. So come to tutorials, let me help you. If I speak too fast, which I know that I do, come talk to me. I can have a copy of the notes ready for you, or I can have some sort of modification, some sort of accommodation so that you can be successful, because that's what I'm here for. Number 6, remember your why. If you're in college, why did you pick that major? Is it because your parents wanted you to study pre-med and you don't really want to, but you know it'll make them happy? You might not be that successful. But if you have a strong why of, I want to help people. If you are a theater education major, maybe your why is that you want to help kids the way that your theater teachers helped you. That's a really strong why. Have a why, have a reason to keep going, because it's gonna suck. At some point, whatever you're doing, this goes for school, career, life, whatever. At some point, it's gonna suck. And you need your why so that you can lean back on it and be like, okay, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm enduring this for a reason. This is gonna have to be this way so that I can achieve XYZ goal. And along with that, if your why changes, that's okay. You're not gonna be the same person now as you are in 5, 10, 15 years. The person you are now probably has nothing in common with the person you'll be in 50 years. And that's okay. But in the moment, you need to have a strong why. You need to know why you're waking up every morning, why you're going through all this. It's gonna make your highs a lot higher and your lows a little bit more bearable. So if you're in school, especially if you're in middle school or high school, it's hard to have a why because you're just expected to do this. But if your why is to be the best version of yourself, to be the smartest version of yourself, your why is to do well in school so that you can get a great job, or so that you can have this career that is really meaningful to you, stick with that. If that changes, that's fine. But if you find yourself losing motivation, look at your why. Maybe your why doesn't resonate with you anymore. That's okay. Find a new why. You're gonna change, you're gonna grow. That's what school should do. You should grow. If you're not growing, you might need to look at that as well. Do some self-analysis, some self-reflection, and figure out what's important to you. Figure out what your priorities are. If your priorities are just going to parties, maybe college is really expensive to just go to parties. You can go to parties and not be in college. You could wait tables and then party at night. That could be your life. Is that a fulfilling life? Not in my opinion, but I'm not everybody. Going along with that, set goals for yourself. If you're in middle school or high school, maybe this could be as simple as I want to have straight A's, or I want to have perfect attendance. I want to be involved with XYZ extracurricular. Set achievable goals for yourself. Don't say, I'm gonna be the star in every show because I'm amazing. That's not up to you. You don't cast yourself. However, you do earn grades. So you could say, I want to turn in all of my assignments. I want to have a better grade this 6 weeks than I did last 6 weeks, whatever. Have some sort of achievable goal that you are in charge of, not something outside of your control, so that you can have something to strive for that's relatively short term. If your number one goal is to graduate in the top 10% and go to Harvard and you're in 6th grade, that's a really long-term goal. You need to set short-term goals so that you can achieve that. That's fine to have that goal, but maybe you need to start off with, I'm gonna improve my math grade. That's a super achievable goal. You could have a 70, next week you have a 71. That's an improvement, check. Maybe your goal is, I wanna go to tutorials once a week. What a lovely goal. You should do that. Whatever your goal is, set goals so that you can have good self-esteem, good self-efficacy, but it also gives you like a little mini why to go with your big why. Number 7, let's talk about studying. I am a creature of habit. When I work, I like to have a specific environment that I work. When I'm editing, I generally have 2 places that I edit my videos. It's either right here at my desk, I clear things out, set a lovely candle. I've got a candle going right there. It is fall scented, so I'm very excited because basic white girl. Have a beverage, have a snack, put on a playlist. That is my studying environment. Those cues, that smell, that sound, this environment signals to my brain it's time to focus. The other place I do work is out in my living room, which is not the best place because there's a lot of distractions around there, but sometimes I just need to not be so claustrophobic. If those aren't working for you, maybe you have roommates and they're really loud and they're really distracting, or you just can't focus anymore at home. Go somewhere else. This is especially good if you are in high school or college and you have your own transportation. Go to a library. People forget about libraries, but they're literally meant for you to sit there and focus. Everything about them is designed for your focus. So go to a library, find a really cozy spot away from everybody, pop in some headphones, have a snack, have some coffee, and get your work done. When I was in community college, because community college is great, I would go to the science building of all places. I wasn't a science major, but they had just renovated it. The chairs were super comfortable, the desks were the perfect height, there was lots of windows, I could pop in my headphones and not hear anybody. There's a coffee shop right there so I could go get a snack if I needed to take my little Pomodoro breaks. It was awesome. It was also centrally located to some of my other classes, so I could, you know, study in between classes. That was great. Find a place that works for you, whether it's a Starbucks, a library, a place at your school, whatever. You could also study outside. I mean, in all likelihood you're gonna need Wi-Fi, but if you don't, if you just need to go read outside. Go read somewhere you haven't been. It's really nice. But I would really recommend, especially at home, to make yourself a spot that is not in your bed, because that's bad for your sleep habits. Your bed is only for sleeping. We'll leave it at that. But have a place in your house that is for work only. So my desk works for me because my makeup is here. It connects to the work that I'm doing. I can focus here. I don't think I would be able to work as well in the kitchen. That's not comfortable to me, that's not cozy, whatever. But in this environment, I have blankets if I get cold. I have kind of a robe sweater thing. I don't know where it is, but I call it my editing cozy. It's like a really fluffy robe, and I get cold when I'm in one spot for a long time. I get cold all the time anyway, but I'll put that on when I edit, and I'll light my candle, and it signals my brain, this is working time. I'm comfortable, there's nothing else I need. I do not need to leave this spot, and I can just get that deep focus done. Number 8, use technology to make your life easier. Okay, my 2 examples for this are A, Study Blue. Study Blue is a flashcard app, and B, audiobooks. Okay, let's talk about Study Blue first. Study Blue is a flashcard app where you can make digital flashcards, and it's an app, so the cards are on your phone. Super effective. If you need to just do memorization, this isn't going to work if you're trying to learn principles, but if you have some terms that you need to learn, or dates, or whatever, this is great for history, some English, I don't know, science, because science has a lot of vocabulary. Great for that kind of stuff. You can also search Study Blue and see if other people have made flashcards for that topic. This is also great. I think Quizlet is very similar to this, but I like Study Blue because you can share your deck of flashcards with people who are in your class. So I've done before where I've like made study groups, and I've said, okay, I'm going to define these 20 words and make a deck, and then you're going to add to it, kind of like in Google Docs or whatever, so that together, cumulatively, you can make a deck. For me, I do feel like the act of making the flashcards helps me memorize, so you might try that as well. But if you're just needing to get the flashcards made quickly, you can collaborate. Quizlet is very similar. I have not used Quizlet, so I can't tell you if it's better or worse, but try that. And then audiobooks. If you are taking an English class and you need to get a lot of reading done at once, see if there's an audiobook, especially for literature. The Great Gatsby, you could do Audible, but obviously you don't want to have to pay for it, because who really wants to pay for that? But you could try LibriVox. I think that's how you pronounce it. Librivox. It's an app where people read public domain literature as an audiobook, and it's free. So people are just volunteering their time doing an audiobook. So the quality is not always great, but it's doable. So I took a Shakespeare class in college, and that was how I survived, because that way I could listen to it as I'm driving. You can listen to it as you're doing laundry or whatever, so you can multitask. For me, especially people who do have attention deficit disorders, that can be really helpful to do something like, say you're doing dishes or doing laundry or doing something really repetitive. You can listen to it while you're doing something, and that can kind of help you focus. But again, it just depends on how you learn and what works best for you. But I think that kind of multitasking is really helpful, especially if you're in the car, if you have a commute, if you whatever, to just be able to listen to it and save yourself a little bit of time. So most novels especially are gonna be somewhere on the internet. You might have to dig for it, but there will be an audiobook for it. Please don't ever pay for an audiobook. Get a library card. Most libraries have a pretty large audiobook collection. A lot of libraries have a digital audiobook collection, which is super helpful. So check that out. Check with your local library. If not, check YouTube. Spotify has some, SoundCloud has some, LibriVox. Just try what works. Number 9 is a book. It's called How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport. I will have it linked below. You can also check out the digital version, the ebook, and read that on your phone, whatever. There might be an audiobook as well. But I read this when I was, we'll say, a sophomore in college. My college journey was not so straightforward, but generally I would say I was a sophomore, and I read it. and I had never been a good student. I graduated high school with like a 2.1 GPA, like totally a slacker. But in college, I graduated with almost a 3.5. So I figured my life out. I don't think I was ever a straight A student, but I definitely was a successful student, and I was very effective in school. So that book is written by a college professor. I think he's a little bit on the younger side, or at least he was when he wrote the book, but he basically looked at some of the most successful students that he knew of and kind of figured out what their methods were, and then compiled a book full of, you know, case studies and systems that are backed up by science and anecdotal evidence to basically say, hey, this is how people are being successful, and you can adopt these same strategies and be successful in your own life. So the idea of like having a small piece of paper and writing down, I have scissors in my hand, I'm a fidgeter. Having a small piece of paper and writing down things that are said to you throughout the day and then transferring it to a bigger calendar, that's his idea. He also advocates like walking around while you're trying to figure out a problem or while you're trying to memorize stuff, which I have used, especially if I'm learning scripts. Former theater students, you'll know what I'm talking about. Try taking a walk as you're learning your lines. It really helps. But that book was really helpful for me. So if you have never really felt like a successful student, but you know you have that potential, but you're not totally sure how people do it, check out this book. Everybody is smart. Everybody is capable. It's just a matter of learning good strategies. Number 10, this is something that I don't think many people think about, especially younger generations. When I was a teacher, I don't think my students ever thought about this, but you need to have a digital organization system. You need a real life organization system as well, but especially digitally. If you are using Google Drive or, you know, even just your computer organization, when you're having to save files, have folders, have subfolders, have folders within subfolders, categorize things. If you have, you know, physical papers that you use, have binder dividers, binder tabs, highlight things, have organization systems so that if you know, oh, I took notes on this subject on this day, I know where to find them. So if you took the notes on your computer, know how to find, go to your history notes and then these dates and this topic and whatever. Organize your life. If you need a video on this, let me know. I would be glad to make it. I would just have to figure out how. But do that. If you want an organization video on how I organize like backpacks and binders and whatever, I'd be happy to do that as well. But I would also like to suggest using technology to your full advantage. If you prefer to take notes on paper, I definitely am like that sometimes. You might look into either getting a scanner and scanning your notes into your Google Docs so that you can look up your notes wherever you are, or getting one of those notebooks. I think I'll link one down below if I can remember. I think it's called like Rocket Book, where you can take the notes and the notebook somehow saves the information to a computer, like to a file. Look into those kind of things. Because college, high school, even middle school, you have so much physical paper and it gets really overwhelming because if you lose that one piece of paper, you're screwed. But if you can save it to specifically like your Google Docs or your Google Suite, have it available on your Chromebook, on your tablet, on your phone, whatever, that is so much easier and easier to keep track of. So it takes a little bit of effort, you know, on the front loading, but I think it's beneficial. That can also be helpful if you need to share notes or whatever. I think that's all the tips I have for now. If y'all want to see some more videos like this, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you'd like to see. I really like organization and planners and school supplies and that kind of stuff. I'm a nerd. So if you want to hear my take on things, I would love to share it. So holler at your girl. I'm gonna go ahead and film that plan with me video, even though nobody's requested it. Because you know what? I'm gonna make the content I want to make. So there. The most you can do is give it a thumbs down, which rude. Alright guys, give it a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, hit that bell if you want to be notified. I usually make beauty videos. I just feel like I have a unique take on things, but now that I'm looking at it, it's not that unique. So, you know, I'm funny and cute if nothing else. Cool. I will see you guys in the next video. I have no idea when this video is going up, so I'll see you guys later in a couple days. Follow me on social media. It's at Emily Funbun on Instagram and Twitter, and I will see you guys later.